In the far reaches of the galaxy, humanity had always been a faint speck barely visible to the eyes of the great civilizations that spanned 3 galaxies, their star systems, filled with advanced technology and ancient wisdom. These empires looked down on Earth with mild amusement, dismissing the humans as a primitive race unworthy of attention. Their ships moved faster than light, their weapons capable of annihilating entire fleets, their cultures rich with knowledge and history. They had long forgotten what it meant to struggle for survival, to fight with nothing but willpower and determination. But humanity knew different. Their story was one of survival, resilience, and the untapped potential buried deep within their bones. Earth was a small blue world caught in the middle of an endless cosmos, a planet teeming with life, yet bound by the limitations of its own technology. The people of Earth had only recently begun to look beyond their home world, launching ships into the vastness of space, with only the most basic of engines compared to the fleets of advanced alien civilizations. Humanity was still a child playing at the edges of the universe. But what the empires did not know was that humanity had something they could not understand, something hidden from their view, a secret buried deep in the ruins of ancient worlds that no one had visited in millennia. For centuries, humans had lived in ignorance of this secret. Beneath the surface of their planet, in the farthest reaches of space, there were forgotten technologies, lost civilizations, ancient battles that had shaped the very foundation of the universe itself. Buried within them were the keys to unimaginable power. The galaxies that once called humanity primitive had no idea that Earth's history stretched far beyond their own. Their world had been part of something far greater. An ancient empire that had once ruled the stars, and their technology was waiting for the right time to be awakened. It was the discovery of a mysterious object that began to shift the course of humanity's future. A deep space probe launched by a small research group came across an anomaly in the far reaches of an uncharted system. It was nothing extraordinary at first, just another outpost of a forgotten civilization. But as the scientists examined the data, they realized something extraordinary had been uncovered. A derelict ship buried beneath the surface of a desolate moon. Its structure unlike anything seen before in the galaxy, its design not of any known species, and its power signatures far beyond anything humanity had achieved in their brief history of space exploration. The crew sent to investigate the wreckage found something even more incredible. Hidden inside the ship was a technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics, gravity engines that bent the very fabric of space-time, weapons capable of striking with unthinkable force, and an artificial intelligence that had lain dormant for eons. The ship had once been a part of a fleet that was far more advanced than anything the galactic empires could have imagined, and it was waiting for someone to come along and bring it back to life. At first, the discovery was kept secret. Only a small group of top scientists and military personnel knew of the find. But as the technology began to be reverse-engineered, humanity's understanding of the universe began to change rapidly. With every breakthrough, they grew more confident in their ability to understand the unknown, and just as quickly the rest of the galaxy would begin to learn what humanity was capable of. The empires laughed at the idea that humans could ever become more than a curiosity in their eyes. Earth was a small, insignificant planet with no real power, but they had forgotten one crucial thing. The true strength of humanity was not in their technology or their ships, but in their determination to rise above every obstacle, and the day they would realize this truth was fast approaching. The first ship that humanity built using the recovered technology was called the Arcanum. It was a sleek and formidable vessel powered by the gravity engines recovered from the ancient Dreadnought, a marvel of engineering that far surpassed anything humanity had ever constructed. It was not just a ship, it was a symbol of what was to come. The Arcanum was launched into deep space with a crew of elite explorers and scientists aboard. Their mission was simple: to test the capabilities of the new ship and to begin mapping the outermost reaches of the galaxy. But what they did not anticipate was the chain of events that their discovery would set into motion. As the Arcanum ventured further from Earth, the crew discovered strange anomalies that shouldn't have been there. Hidden away in the folds of space-time were vast regions filled with remnants of civilizations far older than humanity's recorded history. Ancient ruins scattered across barren planets marked the last remnants of long-forgotten empires. The crew spent months cataloging these discoveries, finding artifacts that hinted at an even greater mystery, one that had been lost to the sands of time. A common thread ran through every encounter, every broken world. They found the wreckage of warships technology, designed for one thing: total destruction. Then came the breakthrough that would change everything. As the Arcanum traveled through an uncharted system, a faint signal was detected. It was weak and fragmented, but unmistakable, a distress call from another ship. Unlike any they had ever encountered, it was of the same origin as the Dreadnought they had uncovered on Earth. The ship was intact, and its coordinates were just beyond the edge of the galaxy, a place previously thought to be beyond reach. The Arcanum charted a course toward the source of the signal, but the deeper they traveled, the more they realized this would not be a simple exploration mission. The Galaxies had long since forgotten this place, and whatever had happened here was buried for a reason. The closer they got to the source of the signal, the more the crew felt a growing sense of unease. The stars themselves seemed to dim in the distance, as though some great weight hung over them. The signal led them to a desolate world orbiting a dying star. The planet's surface was scarred with craters, as if a battle had been fought here millennia ago. The Arcanum landed on the planet, and the crew descended into the wreckage of the ancient ship. They had found the source of the distress signal, and it was unlike anything they had ever seen. The ship was massive, far larger than any Dreadnought, and it radiated a power that defied all understanding. Inside the ship they found the remnants of its crew, a race of beings long extinct. Their technology still pulsed with life, though their bodies were nothing more than dust. The ship's databanks were intact but encrypted in a language no one could understand, and yet the AI they had found in the original Dreadnought recognized it immediately. It was an ancient language that belonged to a race of conquerors who had once ruled the stars, a race so advanced that even the Dreadnoughts had been mere tools in their hands. The AI began to decode the databanks, and what it revealed sent shockwaves through the crew. The war that had ravaged the galaxy eons ago had not been fought by the usual powers of the three galaxies. No, it had been waged by the ancestors of humanity, the very same people who had once built the fleets of dreadnoughts now scattered throughout the stars. And just as humanity had awakened the remnants of their ancient fleet, so too had the enemies of their past awoken. Something was stirring in the galaxy, and it was far more dangerous than anything the Tri-Galactic Council had ever faced. The time of humanity's true awakening was drawing near. And it was not just the Arcanum and its crew who had learned of this hidden history. The Galaxies were about to learn that they had underestimated humanity far too long. The revelation that humanity's ancestors had once commanded fleets of dreadnoughts capable of reshaping entire star systems was a turning point that none could have anticipated in their wildest dreams. It was the kind of knowledge that once discovered could never be undone, and the universe would never be the same again. The crew of the Arcanum returned to Earth with the ancient ship's data intact. The secret of humanity's true legacy had been unlocked, and it wasn't long before humanity's greatest minds began working together on a scale never before seen to reverse engineer the technology they had uncovered. Within months, the first dreadnought was rebuilt. The Dominion was its name, a colossal vessel that dwarfed any human-made ship by orders of magnitude. Its hull was reinforced with metals far stronger than anything humanity had ever encountered, and its weapon systems were capable of vaporizing entire fleets with a single strike. But what truly set it apart was its fusion drive, powered by the same gravity engines humanity had once thought mythical. The Dominion could slip through space in a blink of an eye, a weapon unlike anything seen before, and it was only the first of many more to come. As the construction of new dreadnoughts continued, humanity's fleet began to grow at an exponential rate. The technology they had uncovered allowed them to build ships faster than the galaxy could comprehend, and each new ship was more advanced than the last. The Dominion was followed by the Eclipse, a dreadnought with cloaking capabilities, and the Aegis, which boasted an impenetrable shield array. The humans were no longer playing catch-up with the galaxy's powers. They were leading the charge into a new era. And as their fleet grew, so did their influence. Yet the galactic empires remained unaware of the storm that was gathering in the darkness of space. They had noticed humanity's scientific progress, but they saw it as nothing more than a curiosity, a species barely emerging from their planet's atmosphere. Surely they could not threaten the established order that had stood for millennia. The Tri-Galactic Alliance was the pinnacle of civilization. Their combined fleets patrolled the stars with an iron grip. The idea that humanity could ever rival them seemed laughable. But as the dreadnoughts moved into position, humanity's leaders knew better. They knew the power they now commanded was far beyond anything the Tri-Galactic Council had ever seen. They had awakened a sleeping giant, and the galaxy would soon feel its wrath. It was not just the ships that made humanity's fleet so dangerous. It was their way of thinking, their approach to war and conquest. It wasn't about brute force alone. It was about precision, intelligence, and sheer willpower. Humanity's commanders had studied the ancient tactics of the civilizations that had long been lost, and they had adapted them to their own methods. They had learned the art of war, not just as an act of destruction, but as a means of total dominance and control. They would strike where the enemy was weakest and always be one step ahead. The first test of this strategy came when humanity decided to make a show of force to remind the galaxy that they were not to be ignored. A small fleet of dreadnoughts led by the Dominion appeared just beyond the border of the Tri-Galactic Alliance's most secure sector. The response was swift and predictable. The Tri-Galactic Council dispatched a fleet to confront the new threat, but the humans had already calculated their move. They did not engage head-on. They didn't need to. Instead, they unleashed a precise strike on the enemy supply lines, crippling their logistical capabilities. The enemy fleet was left stranded in deep space, with no way to communicate, no way to resupply or retreat. The message was clear. Humanity was not just a curiosity. They were a power that could change the balance of the entire galaxy, and the Tri-Galactic Council would soon learn that they had underestimated Earth and its people in ways they could never have imagined. The dreadnoughts were no longer relics of a forgotten past. They were the harbingers of a new era, the era of humanity's dominance in the stars. It was inevitable that the Tri-Galactic Alliance would soon take notice of humanity's rise. The reports of humanity's sudden military power spread across the galaxies like wildfire. Whispers of the dreadnoughts that had been awakened from their centuries-long slumber reached the highest councils and war rooms. The leaders of the three galactic empires were caught off guard, at first dismissing the rumors as exaggerated stories from isolated sectors. But the more they investigated, the more troubling the truth became. Humanity was no longer a primitive species on the fringe of galactic civilization. They had become a serious threat. A delegation was quickly assembled to make contact with Earth. The Alliance was accustomed to negotiating with newly discovered species, but they were confident that humanity's primitive reputation would mean a swift and easy negotiation. Humanity's leaders had nothing of the sort in mind. The Tri-Galactic Alliance had thought little of them before, but now they would learn just how wrong they were. The human fleet appeared out of the void in a display of overwhelming might. A full fleet of dreadnoughts emerged from the depths of the Sol system, their massive forms eclipsing the planets below, their power radiating through the stars. The Alliance's flagship Vanguard entered Earth's orbit with an entire armada in tow, expecting to force humanity to bow before their superior technology. But when the Alliance delegation sent their first communication to Earth, they were met not with the expected subjugation, but with cold silence. For days, the humans made no attempt to engage or respond to the approaching fleet. Their silence was deafening. The Alliance ships hovered at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, their weapons trained on the planet below, waiting for the humans to make the first move. At last, a response came, not from Earth's government, but from a transmission sent directly from the Dominion, the largest and most powerful of the dreadnoughts now positioned in orbit around the planet, its voice booming across the communications channel. "Welcome to Earth," the voice said in a calm yet unyielding tone. "You may leave now or face the consequences of your ignorance. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to remind you of who we are." The message was a stark warning. The humans had no interest in diplomacy. Their fleet was more than a mere show of strength. It was a demonstration of their willingness to defend their place in the stars. Humanity was no longer the meek species that had once been overlooked by the galaxy's powers. They had learned from the past, and they would not be bullied. The Alliance fleet hesitated at first, unsure of how to respond. The human message was so stark and direct that it left no room for misinterpretation, but the leaders of the Tri-Galactic Council were not easily intimidated. They had ruled the galaxy for centuries, and their combined fleets were unmatched in size and strength. Surely a race of such recent origin could not stand up to them. The response from the vanguard was swift and expected. "You are unwise to speak to us in such a tone." The commander's voice crackled with arrogance. "We will give you one chance to surrender before we take action." The humans were unimpressed. Their response was immediate and decisive. The Dominion activated its weapons systems, targeting the vanguard at the heart of its massive fleet. In a stunning display of power, the Dominion fired a single shot from its main cannon, the beam of energy so intense it tore through space itself. The vanguard tried to activate its shields, but it was too late. The blast hit its center with such force that the flagship was instantly obliterated. The shockwave sent the surrounding Alliance ships into disarray. Panic swept through the fleet as the humans demonstrated their raw power. For a moment, there was silence in the void. The Tri-Galactic Council had never encountered such a show of force. Their fleet had been annihilated in the blink of an eye. The message from humanity was now undeniable. Their time of playing the victim had passed, and now the galaxy would have to face the reality that Earth was no longer just a planet on the fringes of the universe. Humanity had arrived, and they would not be ignored any longer. The aftermath of the destruction of the Vanguard was a moment of profound shock for the Tri-Galactic Alliance. The shockwaves of the Dominion strike reverberated across the entire galaxy for days. In every corner of the three galaxies, communications were halted, fleets scrambled, and emergency war councils were convened. The sheer magnitude of humanity's power had left the once untouchable Alliance stunned, as their flagship was reduced to nothing but debris in the void. The first real battle of the Galactic War had been fought, and humanity had won in a single blow. While the Alliance commanders were still processing their loss, the humans wasted no time in sending a clear message to the rest of the galaxy. Across every frequency, across every star system, a broadcast from the Dominion played, directed to all known civilizations, to the Tri-Galactic Council, and all who believe they still control the stars. The voice of the human leader resonated through the vast reaches of space, a calm but unmistakable tone of authority in his words. "You have called us primitive for far too long. We have nothing to prove to you. The era of our silence is over. The era of humanity's dominance begins now." The transmission was not just a message, it was a warning. The voice continued, growing more forceful with each word. "We offer you two choices. Withdraw from our space and accept the new order of the stars, or meet us in battle and suffer the consequences of your ignorance. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to dominate." The broadcast ended abruptly, leaving the galaxy in a stunned silence. No one had expected such an aggressive stance from a race so recently emerging from their infancy as a spacefaring species. The three galaxies, which had so easily dismissed humanity as nothing more than a fleeting curiosity, now realized the scale of their mistake. The full force of humanity's military might was now on display, and it was far more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever encountered. Immediately, the ruling councils of the Tri-Galactic Alliance met in secret. Their most brilliant minds came together to strategize on how to deal with this unprecedented threat. The majority of the leaders still believed that humanity was a flash in the pan, a fluke born out of luck. Surely, one battle could not mark the end of their centuries-long rule. But deep down, some knew that the warning humanity had delivered was not to be ignored. They had never seen anything like the Dominion and its fleet of dreadnoughts, a fleet that could move faster than anything known to the Alliance, equipped with weapons that could obliterate entire fleets in an instant. The gap between human technology and the Alliance's military capabilities had grown too wide, too fast to dismiss as an anomaly. Throughout the galaxy, whispers began to spread. From the outer colonies to the central worlds, all eyes turned toward Earth. The long-held belief that humanity was insignificant and easily controlled began to crumble. No longer would the Tri-Galactic Council have free reign over their empire without challenge. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The Council's military leaders, led by the commanding general of the largest fleet, General Corrin, decided that a decisive retaliation was necessary. They would not be cowed by this insignificant species. A massive fleet was mobilized from the heart of the Alliance, set to engage humanity in a battle that would surely remind them of their place in the galaxy. But the Alliance was wrong. The humans had anticipated this move. Their dreadnoughts, already stationed in strategic positions throughout the galaxy, began to gather in secret. Humanity had not just built a fleet. They had built a network, a series of interwoven strategies that would ensure their victory. The Tri-Galactic Alliance would march into a trap, and they had no idea just how thoroughly outmatched they were. The message had been sent, and now there was no going back. The galaxy had been warned, but whether they would listen was another matter entirely. As the Tri-Galactic Alliance assembled its fleets for a massive counteroffensive, humanity remained calm, poised, and more than ready. The Alliance was eager to prove that the destruction of the Vanguard had been nothing more than a lucky shot, a fluke of technology and circumstance. They had been swift to underestimate Earth, and now they were determined to show that their centuries of dominance were not to be so easily upended. The vast warships of the Alliance surged through the stars, drawn by the illusion of their own superiority. They believed that sheer numbers and advanced strategies would be enough to put an end to the human threat once and for all. What they didn't realize, however, was that the battle they were about to face had already been decided. Humanity had learned from the past and meticulously planned their every move. The first strike of the human fleet came when the Tri-Galactic forces entered a system known as Viridian, a system that, on the surface, appeared empty and unimportant. The Alliance's military leaders thought they were on the verge of cutting off a key human supply line. Instead, they were walking into a carefully constructed trap. The moment the Alliance ships entered the Viridian system, the humans unleashed a devastating surprise. Dreadnoughts previously hidden in the asteroid belts, moons, and remote sectors of the system emerged in coordinated precision. The Dominion led the charge, its main cannons charging with a low hum, ready to unleash destruction. Without warning, the first wave of attacks hit the incoming Alliance fleet. The opening volley was a carefully timed barrage of energy beams and missile salvos that disintegrated a dozen ships before the Alliance could even react. The Alliance commanders scrambled to organize a defense, but they were already out of their depth. The Dominion's main cannon fired again, the shockwave from the blast obliterating a massive flagship, the Aegis Requiem, in a single strike. The force of the weapon tore through its hull like paper, sending the shattered remains scattering across space. The Alliance's once untouchable ships, equipped with advanced shields and reinforced armor, now appeared fragile and obsolete. They had underestimated humanity's ability to engineer these ships, to develop technologies that could bypass their defenses. At the same time, the Eclipse, another of humanity's newly minted dreadnoughts, activated its cloaking systems, vanishing from sight and allowing it to slip unnoticed behind enemy lines. The Alliance fleet was caught off guard, their radar systems unable to detect the incoming danger. The Eclipse deployed a full barrage of plasma torpedoes, each one hitting its mark with surgical precision, knocking out vital systems in the Alliance's rear ships. As the Eclipse reappeared, its weapon systems were already locked on to its next target. The Alliance retaliated, but it was too late. They had failed to anticipate the sheer scale of humanity's coordination. The Aegis, Dominion, and Eclipse led a perfect pincer attack on the incoming fleet, splitting them into two groups and isolating them from their support. As the battle raged on, the humans worked in perfect harmony, each ship performing its task with deadly efficiency. The Alliance's fleets were scattered, disorganized, and unable to coordinate their responses. But the humans weren't finished yet. They didn't just want to win. They wanted to send a message. The Aegis activated its shield buster technology, a devastating new weapon that generated a pulse of concentrated energy capable of disabling even the most advanced energy shields. The pulse washed over the Alliance's remaining ships, rendering their shields useless. Vulnerable, they were easy pickings for the human fleet. One by one, the Alliance ships were eliminated, their survivors left stranded in the cold vacuum of space, no longer able to retreat or communicate with their home fleets. The message humanity was sending could not have been clearer. We are not here to play by your rules. We are here to dominate. The Tri-Galactic Alliance, once so confident in its superiority, now found itself broken and bleeding. They had underestimated humanity at every turn, and now they were paying the price. The survivors of the battle retreated in disarray, nursing the wounds of their failed attack and realizing that their place in the galaxy was no longer assured. The balance of power had shifted, and the consequences of humanity's first strike were already reverberating across the stars. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, not as a curiosity, not as a side note, but as a force that would forever change the course of history. The first strike had been made, and the Tri-Galactic Alliance knew they had only one choice left: adapt or perish. In the wake of humanity's stunning victory, the galaxy was left in turmoil. The once mighty Tri-Galactic Alliance, humbled and broken, had retreated to lick its wounds, unsure of how to face the relentless advance of the human fleet. News of the devastating defeat spread across the three galaxies, igniting fear, confusion, and a deep sense of unease among the civilizations that had once ruled the stars. The Alliance was no longer the undisputed power. Humanity had taken its place as the true force of the galaxy. While the Alliance's leadership scrambled to regroup, a far more dangerous shift was occurring. The other galactic powers, long dormant and content to watch the rise of the Tri-Galactic Alliance, were now awakened by the undeniable threat that humanity posed. For centuries, they had kept to their own territories, trading among themselves, building their own empires, and turning a blind eye to the struggles of lesser species. But now, humanity's aggressive rise could not be ignored. These ancient powers, whose technology rivaled and even surpassed that of the Alliance, saw in humanity a challenge to their own long-held dominions. The Ithokari Confederacy, a union of species known for their telepathic abilities and vast knowledge of psionic warfare, quickly issued a statement condemning the destruction of the Vanguard and the subsequent ambush of the Alliance fleet. The Confederacy had long viewed the Tri-Galactic Alliance with disdain, seeing their conquest of the galaxy as a grotesque act of control. But they now found themselves facing a far more perilous enemy. If humanity could tear through the might of the Alliance, how long before they turned their gaze toward the Confederacy itself? The Dracani Syndicate, a mercantile empire built on a vast network of trade routes and subterfuge, also took notice. The Syndicate had always prided itself on being able to manipulate events from behind the scenes, controlling the flow of goods and information across the galaxy. But now, with humanity's fleet emerging as a formidable military power, their status as the unseen hand of the galaxy was threatened. If they allowed humanity to gain too much influence, their entire way of life could be destabilized. The Syndicate quickly began making secret alliances, offering resources and support to the struggling Alliance in exchange for promises of protection. The Eldari Ascendancy, an ancient race of highly advanced beings whose technology was said to span the boundaries of reality itself, also observed the situation with growing concern. They had remained largely neutral in the affairs of other civilizations, preferring instead to protect their hidden homeworlds and their deep knowledge of the stars. But humanity's rapid development and their astonishing victory over the Tri-Galactic fleet signaled a shift in the natural order. The Eldari saw a dangerous potential in the humans, a power that, if left unchecked, could reshape the very fabric of the universe. As these ancient empires began to form uneasy alliances and prepare for their own defenses, the galaxy found itself on the brink of war. But humanity, already emboldened by their victory, was undeterred. The humans knew that their victory over the Alliance was only the beginning. The true battle, the one for control of the galaxy, was just beginning, and humanity had no intention of backing down. The leadership of Earth, bolstered by the strength of their Dreadnought fleet, had begun to turn their attention toward the greater threat that now loomed before them: the combined forces of the galaxy's other superpowers. They understood that no victory would be easy, but they were prepared to fight with everything they had. The ancient technologies they had uncovered were not just weapons. They were the keys to unlocking even greater power, and humanity would use them to carve their place in the stars. The first steps toward a new galactic order had been taken, and humanity's relentless drive toward domination was already shaping the future of the galaxy. As the ancient empires scrambled to protect their interests, the humans stood tall, a new power in the galaxy with a single unmistakable goal: to take what was rightfully theirs. The galaxy would tremble at their might, for humanity had come to stay, and no force in the universe would stand in their way. The question now was not whether humanity would rise. It was whether the galaxy's other powers would fall before them. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the galaxy teetered on the edge of a new age. Humanity, once a mere flicker on the fringes of galactic civilization, had now become the pivot upon which the fate of the universe hung. The defeat of the Tri-Galactic Alliance had shaken the foundations of power, and the rise of humanity's dreadnought fleets signaled that a new order was inevitable. But while the other galactic powers scrambled to form tenuous alliances and bolster their defenses, they knew the truth: humanity's moment had arrived. The Ithokari Confederacy, the Drakani Syndicate, and the Eldari Ascendancy had all mobilized their fleets in preparation for the inevitable conflict, but none had anticipated the scale of humanity's resolve. Humanity's leaders, once viewed as naive and weak, were now the strategic masterminds of a growing empire. Earth's government, working in concert with their fleet commanders, orchestrated a vision for the galaxy, one that would reshape it in humanity's image. For years, the galaxy's powers had kept to their own domains, maintaining their control through intimidation, manipulation, and sheer military strength. But humanity was different. Humanity's empire would not be built through subterfuge or backroom deals. It would be forged through the strength of their fleets, their will, and their unrelenting desire to rise above all others. The Dominion, Eclipse, Aegis, and countless other dreadnoughts had become the new symbols of power, massive, indomitable forces that could bend the galaxy to humanity's will. The age of secretive manipulations and quiet treaties was over. Now, it was a matter of dominance, pure and simple. The other powers could see this, but their pride made them hesitate. Each one still believed in their own superiority, their ability to counter humanity's advance. But they had all underestimated the humans, and now they faced a foe that would no longer relent. Humanity's next move came in the form of a daring strike on the Eldari Ascendancy. The Eldari, long considered the most powerful race in the galaxy, had remained aloof from the conflicts of the other empires. They watched as humanity's fleets surged forward, but their pride had led them to believe they were untouchable. That mistake was about to be corrected. The human fleet, led by the Dominion, approached the Eldari's homeworld, a lush and seemingly peaceful planet surrounded by a shimmering ring of advanced defenses. The Eldari were confident in their technology, believing that no force could break their defenses. But the humans had a secret, a weapon unlike anything seen before: the Ascendant Pulse, a devastating new technology that disrupted the fabric of space-time itself, rendering shields and advanced technologies useless. It was a weapon derived from the same ancient technology that had powered their dreadnoughts, and it would be humanity's key to conquering the Ascendancy. The attack came without warning. The Dominion fired the first Ascendant Pulse shot, and the entire ring of Eldari defenses collapsed in an instant. The human fleet, equipped with unparalleled coordination and overwhelming firepower, tore through the Eldari ships with ease. The once untouchable Eldari were forced to retreat, their proud empire shattered in a matter of hours. As the Eldari fell back to their secretive strongholds, humanity sent a message to the rest of the galaxy: no one is safe. No one is beyond our reach. The Ithokari Confederacy, shaken by the Eldari's defeat, made one final attempt to negotiate a peaceful resolution. But humanity's terms were simple and non-negotiable: unconditional surrender or face the consequences. The Dominion was already en route to the heart of the Confederacy's domain, and the message had been received. The Dracani Syndicate, realizing that their position was untenable, scrambled to fortify their borders, but they knew their time was running out. Their influence was slipping, and their attempts to broker peace fell on deaf ears. The humans had one objective: control. The Syndicate had no choice but to prepare for a fight they knew they could not win. The final reckoning was near, and the galaxy trembled at the thought of what humanity would do next. Their dreadnoughts, their unstoppable fleets, had already begun to carve a path of conquest through the stars, and no force seemed capable of halting their march. The Tri-Galactic Alliance was only the first casualty in the rise of humanity. The era of meekness was over. The era of humanity's ascension had begun. And soon, the galaxy would belong to them.